project update. For the second month in a row, we're a little bit late getting it out to you guys. Apologize for that. I've been very busy outside of modeling, so it's been tough to get the video out on time for the last couple months here. But nonetheless, we have a good one for you today. You know, with being busy, sometimes that means not a lot gets done down here on the layout. But I do have quite a bit to talk to you about. 3 technically new acquisitions and 1 work in progress rolling stock piece. So without further ado, we'll get started. The first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was the NCE interface that I talked to you guys about last time. That is up and running. I've been able to play around with it quite a bit. It's been a blast to use that rather than just my regular NCE decoder. And as soon as I get a few networking things figured out, I'm hoping to have the ability to control trains from my phones using the Y-Throttle app, or whatever the Android version of that is. So that'll be exciting once that's up and running as well. Now that we're done talking about that, we'll talk about the 2 works in progress, one of which is also a new acquisition, and then we'll get into the other 2 new acquisitions. The first thing I want to talk to you about, and it's not often that I talk about a car that's still a work in progress. Usually I have these guys finished up, but this particular car I already had finished weathering, and I really didn't like the way it turned out. I thought it looked kind of terrible. I even had a friend tell me it looks like a melted Hershey Kiss had been rubbed all over it. So we went back to the drawing board on it, and we're going to try something a little different. I sanded a lot of the weathering down and everything, and I just put this graffiti on. It's still actually drying. That's how much of a work in progress it really is. This is the Atlas Southern covered hopper that I received. That was a new acquisition in last month's project update. As you can see, working on getting a little bit of graffiti on it. We're going to do some heavier rust, kind of just cover up a lot of the fading that ended up happening when I took all the grime off of it that was already on it that I wasn't very happy with. So that's the 1 work in progress piece of rolling stock. I'm really hoping that it ends up turning out a lot better than it did. As you saw, you know, the trucks turned out well at least. So we're hoping to still salvage that car. And it just goes to show you that sometimes when you're working on as many different things as I am, or when other people are, sometimes things just don't go to how you plan. And that's also the case with the first of the new acquisitions that's also already retired on the layout. I've been hunting for a CEFX AC44 for a very long time, just because I love the way they looked. I ended up trading. This was at one point a full locomotive, I promise. I still have the chassis and the motor and the trucks and everything too, but it's in pieces for very good reason. I ended up trading my SD70M non-flared Aether Genesis for this Kato AC44. And then as soon as I got it home, I noticed that there was wavy handrails. And I knew there was a trick you could do by shining a light on the handrails to warm them up a little bit just to straighten them out. And I tried doing that. And I turned my back for 1 second. And the shell itself melted. You can see right there. Wasn't exactly overjoyed about that. In fact, I was very discouraged, and that's probably a big part of the reason why I didn't get much modeling done this month, just because I was so disappointed in myself for doing that. It was kind of a critical error, one I was not overjoyed about making. But anyway, with that being said, I did go out and find another CEFX AC44. This time it was an Aether ready to roll. And I'm still in the process of getting it ready to go. Aether does these things with a black underframe, so I went ahead and did what I could to kind of get it to the dark gray that it was. I debated painting it that color, but then I decided, you know what, it might even be better to go ahead and just get some lighter weathering powder to fade down the frame itself, which I did, and you can also see I did on the sill as well. Did that as well. And I like the way that turned out. I think it's closer to the way this the prototype's supposed to look than it would have been if I had just painted it gray. So I'm glad how that went. I also have all of the LEDs installed. They're ready to be wired in. The decoder, which I decided to go with Tsunami 2 for, is on its way. I just ordered it yesterday. So as soon as that's in, we're going to plug everything back in. I have a Keep Alive laying around that I'm going to use on it. So this will be one really nice model once everything's said and done. But there is one thing I found very ironic with the Aether Ready to Roll version of the CEFX AC44s, and that's that for once an Aether Ready to Roll model was actually, and for those of you who aren't aware, the Dash 9s and the AC44s specifically from Aether are not always exactly prototypical per the road. So for the CEFXs, they have the low nose headlight and the low number boards, and then they have deck mount ditch lights. This one came with the low headlights and the low number boards, but it had pilot mount ditch lights, which not a lot of AC44s actually have anyway, but this particular one did have the deck mounts. But one thing that was funny, I found, is that the Aether Ready to Roll was more prototypical than the Kato in one way, and that's that the number boards were actually on the nose and not on the roof. So I was kind of happy about that once I found that out, because that's something that I've never really messed around with doing, messing or moving number boards, and I'm glad that I didn't have to. But as far as the Kato is concerned, it had way more detail parts than the Ready to Roll, and I've scavenged as many of them as I can and put them on the AC44. As you'll see here, you can see there's a lot of pilot detail here. The MU hoses are off the Kato. There's a coupler cut lever there that's off the Kato. On the back, same thing. I have the coupler cut lever and the MU hoses. And then there's also grabs that hold these in place. I had those on hand. They weren't from the Kato, but I did take those off as well. The ditch lights themselves are actually the Kato ditch lights. They mold them to the front handrails. I ended up cutting them off the handrails and kind of sanding them down, repainting the sides that were sanded just so that they'd be the same color, and then installed them as well. I'm super excited to see how this thing ends up turning out, just because everything has gone, knock on wood, very smoothly with the build so far. So that should be done by the time next project update comes out, and I'll be sure to share it with you guys as soon as it is. Alright, so we're actually to the final segment of this month's project update. Like I said, it's going to be a quick one. I didn't do a whole ton this month, but I do have one more new acquisition that I want to share with you guys. I'm super excited to show you because it is something on my Norfolk Southern roster that I've been wanting to get very badly, and that is an SD60i. I ended up picking this thing up off eBay for about 160 bucks. This is the new run with Tsunami 2. With the PTC antenna array. Unfortunately, not LEDs yet. They're going to start putting LEDs in everything, Aether is, starting with their new run of, the ACE that's coming out, the UP ACE, the Honoring Veterans one. I can't remember if that's the exact name or not. But starting with that, they all have LEDs. The new run of SD60Es, which I have the First Responders unit pre-ordered for, will have them as well. And this one, which you saw in the intro, does have some relatively dim ditch lights, which eventually will be getting replaced without a doubt with LEDs, much brighter LEDs. But for now, I'm just going to run it as is, mainly because I used up the rest of my LEDs working on the CEFX unit, and I have to order more, and because, there's just a lot of other things I want to work on before I get into replacing LEDs on this thing. But it will be getting weathered eventually, for sure. A lot of these SD60Is, they've been around long enough to where, they're looking a little grimy. This one is in the horse head scheme, so it's not as grimy as others, but it still needs to have some truck grime, at least a dull coat to get rid of the glossy finish, and a couple other things as well. But anyway, guys, that's about it for this project update. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. I'm going to try real hard to get you some more content for next month, after that fatal blow from the first Kato CFX unit. I just lost a little bit of motivation this month. But I got that motivation back already, and I'm ready to keep on clicking on more projects. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to like the video as well. That always helps out too. So we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.